What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mind Keys. It's been a minute. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dave. I'm a life coach, hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner. And on this channel, we tend to focus a lot on things like awakening, spiritual growth, personal transformation, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for success porn, motivation porn, that flavor of personal development, I'm probably not your guy, although I do kind of deal with that stuff in my own coaching work. On this channel, I like to talk about the deeper sides of what it means to grow and self-actualize as a human being. So if that's your bag, then welcome. Really happy to have you aboard. I want to say a quick hello and thank you to the new subscribers. I noticed a bunch have kind of hopped on in the last couple weeks, and I'm super stoked about that. Really excited to have you guys aboard. Really grateful for the comments. They really do make a huge difference to me and keep me going on this. So thank you, because I do have my moments of being like, do I want to do this anymore? So when I see that I'm making some sort of sense to you out there and touching your life in some way, that gives me more incentive to keep going with this. So yeah, today's topic is forgiveness. This is a huge, important, crucial, key life skill. And I don't think it's talked about nearly enough. And I do think that it's one of those things that if you want to grow, if you want to heal, if you want to change at all, if you want to improve your life in any way, shape, or form, at some point in your life, you're going to be tasked with the need to forgive. There's just kind of no way around it. It's a crucial core life skill to have. And yet it's something that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people don't, really know how to do sometimes in certain situations, understandably. We'll talk about that a bit here. And so I wanted to just empower you. I wanted to give you a video today here that's more substantial, that might be a little more serious, that might be a little more deep, that might be a little more also to the point, a little more impactful, and this is how you do it. So this is both instructional and a bit of a deep dive into looking at forgiveness, because obviously at this time in the world, this is a good skill to have, right? So wanted to just kind of elucidate that for you a bit and talk about it. So before we get into it, I wanted to just kind of acknowledge that I haven't been posting and uploading like a lot of content creators lately, and kind of give you a little bit of insight into what's going on with me so that you have just an idea of where I'm at personally. So I was about to kind of shift gears and shift topics a little bit with my channel and what I was talking about literally the week that the whole George Floyd thing happened. So I was planning new content that week. I actually had 2 videos that I'd made that were kind of along these new lines, this new direction. And then the George Floyd thing happened, and they felt inappropriately timed to put out. They felt perhaps a little insensitive and perhaps just a little like shouting into the void and not relevant to what was alive and happening in our culture. So I put those on the shelf for now. And I've been really just taking a moment with this whole experience, as I'm sure a lot of us are, to process the changes that are going on in our own lives and in our culture around us, and to really reflect back, obviously as a white person, on what I'm learning about racism and just all the narratives flying around. And, quite honestly, I've also been just dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety and really wanting to just clear myself before I talk to you. So I spent a lot of time working on myself. I spent a lot of time examining what it is I want to communicate, how I want to build my audience, what I want to share with you guys, what I want to empower you with, who I want to speak to, all these kinds of questions. So I've been really just reevaluating, doing a lot of healing work, a lot of self-inquiry, a lot of personal transformation work, and feeling great, feeling awesome actually, and I have a lot to share and I'm really excited about it. But it's been a poignant moment, I'm sure, as it has been for a lot of us. There's a lot of pain out there right now. There's a lot of polarization out there right now. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of reactivity. There's a lot of, divides. I've had quite a few blow-ups online with friends, and even in my own personal life with people close to me. It's just been a really rocky, rough time. So I took some time out to really make sure that I'm good, because I don't feel good about coaching from an ungrounded place, from a triggered, upset place where my filter is full with my own stuff. I like to be present with you guys. I like to be attuned. I like to pay close attention. I like to listen. I like to notice the details of a person's behavior. It's a huge part of how I'm able to do what I do when I'm doing hypnotherapy. So that meant taking some time out. So here I am anyways, long story short, and I, have just been thinking about what's really real to me and what's going to be useful to you at this time. And it just seems so patently obvious that forgiveness is a really good place to start right now, because we have all this pain and all this polarity, like I just said. And forgiveness is just, it's crucial, it's key. And there's a few things I want to say about forgiveness before we go ahead and talk about how to forgive, so that you understand what I mean when I say the word forgiveness. Because for some people, that's a loaded word. Like that can be something that people rebel against or fight against or struggle with. And so I want to just define for you a little bit how I see forgiveness and how I've experienced it in my own life and what it means to me. So in my mind, forgiveness means it's something you do, right? It's something you have control over. It's one of the places you have power in your relationships. You can choose to hold on to things, or you can choose to let go. And that's up to you. And here's what I notice about that. Most people, your average adult that you see walking around out there in life, even well into their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, has not let go of that much stuff. And so most people walk around, we encounter life, we have moments where we get wounded, right? And then what do we do with those wounds? We don't feel them, we don't process them, and we don't let go of them. What we usually do is kind of suppress them, repress them, cover them up with all kinds of distraction behavior patterns, whether that is, whatever, media, internet, food, porn, sex, whatever it is that you use, socializing, whatever it is you use to distance yourself from feeling the feels that you never wanted to fucking feel, but happened, right? So most of us are repressing whatever it is that would be genuine that we have felt in the past. And so these feelings become rather stuck inside our body, inside our nervous system, inside our minds, right? And what forgiveness is to me is the skill of letting that shit go. It's the skill of saying, okay, for me, for myself, I'm going to put this thing down. What forgiveness isn't, a lot of people don't like the idea of forgiveness because they think of it as saying, okay, I make whatever happened to me okay. I'm giving permission to whoever transgressed me to have done what they did. And I want to communicate to you that that's not how I think of it. How I think of it is that you don't have to consent or make whatever the person did or whatever the world did or whatever society did to you right. You don't have to make it right in order to forgive. You don't have to say that was a cool thing to do, because let's be honest, there are terrible things that happen in life and there's just no two ways about that. That's part of being a human being. But forgiveness, sorry, I'm turning around because of the wind here. Forgiveness is the skill of letting go of that. So I want to teach you how to let go of whatever kind of wounding or pain you've experienced, because you're going to need that over and over. Okay, so I got back on the path here because the wind was too much. So let's go ahead and crack into how to actually forgive. Now, there are many ways to do this. There are many different psychological approaches to healing and change work. So just so you know, I'm grounded in NLP and hypnotherapy. So that is a different approach. It's a different kind of set of tools and ideas from your kind of classic schools of therapy. So you might have heard something different. And I want you to know that this isn't necessarily counter to any of that. This can be an adjunct to all of that. This can be in addition. But if you don't have any clear map or roadmap of how to forgive, this might also be a good starting place for you. Now, I want to warn you, I'm about to say something here that you might find a little bit offensive, particularly with what's going on right now in life, with all the racism that's been called out and being addressed. This might seem a little inappropriate, but I stand by this statement. And so this is a controversial statement that they teach us in NLP courses, which is really, just so you know, the whole approach with NLP is experimental, and it's about trying things on to see what works. It's never about this is the hard facts, this is the hard truth of the mind, because quite frankly, I don't know how much we actually know that is hard fact about the mind. But what we do know are what tools seem to work better than others. So what they teach us in NLP school, if you're gonna go, is they teach you all these core, what are called presuppositions or core assumptions that you start with as an NLP practitioner to help people change, because these assumptions tend to help you get the results. And one of those assumptions is the assumption that every single behavior is ultimately rooted in a positive intention. So I want you to just try that on for a moment here as we talk about forgiveness. So I want you, when you're thinking about yourself, and also when you're thinking about whoever, and even abstracts like it's the world, like let's say you want to forgive the world because you fucking hate the world, right? Let's say it's that generalized out. This still applies. So for whoever's transgressed you at whatever point, and for yourself as well, I want you to try on the idea that every single behavior a human being has ever done was ultimately at the bottom of it all, if you dug down deep into the motivations, rooted in a positive intention. Okay? Now, you might already be thinking that's bullshit and thinking of all these kind of counter statements to that or ways of disproving that. I want to just kind of include in that definition of positive intention things like wishes for one's own well-being. So things that might appear selfish can also be viewed ultimately as positive, because if it benefits your life, if it benefits your survival, if it benefits your well-being, if it benefits your peace of mind, or whatever, no matter how terrible the behavior is, the intention is rooted in some sort of self-love, right? It's rooted in some form of looking out for yourself. And that's ultimately a positive intention. So, yeah. So here we have this distinction that all behavior is rooted in a positive intention, right? Now, I want you to think about who transgressed you and the last transgression you had. And I want you to think about and consider what are the positive intentions connected to that behavior. Like, what are the things, whether or not it was, acted out appropriately or was intelligent or was foolish or was healthy or was unhealthy, was safe or toxic or dangerous, I want you to just think, what would the positive intention be in what the person did and the behavior that they chose. There's another presupposition that we have in NLP along with this one, which is that people always choose the best option they have in the moment, right? So obviously, whoever transgresses you, if they had a better option, if they had a bigger win-win, they would have chosen it. So anytime someone is terrible to you in any way, I want you to consider that that was the best they knew how to do in that moment. And that underneath that, there was some sort of a positive intention. And that might have just been a positive intention for themselves. That might have been a positive intention for you. Sometimes people do terrible things to us in the name of doing good for us, right? That happens. But I want you to just kind of stew on that for a moment and see what kind of arises for you when you think about that. And I want you to think about how we have all these people in the world most of whom are operating on a completely unaware, unconscious operating system inside of themselves, not really in touch with who they are, living with all those repressed emotions that we just talked about, living in reaction to those repressed emotions, actually, having those things define their behavior, and having no kind of way out, no way to release all that stuff. And that's most of the people around us. There are very few people who are self-aware enough to catch their own emotions, feel them, not repress them, or be aware if they're having a repressed emotion, that it's theirs and not yours. Anyways, so consider for a moment what the positive intention would be. Also consider for a moment if you feel like you're a victim, if you feel like you've been done wrong by, and you're angry about that, or you're hurt, or you're sad, or you're confused, or whatever emotion you might feel in response to that. I want you to just think for a moment about what is the positive intention behind your emotion, right? Because there's a reason for the response you're having to being transgressed as well. And that might be something like protecting yourself, upholding your own dignity, self-love, protecting the relationship between you and the person, feeling strong. I don't know. There are a lot of different reasons. But what would be the reason behind your response, right? What is the positive intention there? And then going back to the other person, if you can notice what their positive intention is for why they behave the way they behaved, if you can kind of separate out, this is really the skill, separating out the positive intention from the behavior. This is how you forgive. Can you separate out all the terrible behavior, all the ignorance, all the kind of mean-spiritedness or whatever was there, the way it was done, the tone it was done, from the intention underneath it all? I really believe, I just want to say, I'm going to add this in really quick. This is kind of going deeper than I thought, but let's just go there. I really believe that all of life is made up of a universal life force energy, and that universal life force energy has an emotional signature that we could call love. And that love is part of the life force that's all around us and within us, right? And therefore, whatever you experience or encounter is just some form of that. It's just some reshaping of that. So one of the things that I've learned is that positive intention is another word for love, right? It's another way of saying love. And so underneath whatever crazy shit you've been through, whatever terrible things have happened, or not so terrible, because sometimes, we're just forgiving a mild transgression. What's underneath it is this life force. And that life force is known as love, and that love manifests as a positive intention in people. And so if you can recognize what that positive intention is, you can start to forgive. You can start to let go. You can separate the behavior from the intention. This is so key. People are not their behaviors. They are the choosers of their behaviors. They are the actors of their behaviors. But the actor can choose to act in a different way, can choose to behave in a different way. The actor has options. The behavior is what it is. And so, just putting this out there for a moment, can you, I know this might be triggering for some of you, can you separate out the intention from the behavior? If you can, and you can recognize that there's a positive intention at the core, then simply ask yourself, can I relate to that? Do I understand what it is to have that particular intention? Do I understand what it is to be afraid and need to protect oneself? Do I understand what it is to be hungry and need to steal? Do I understand what it is, et cetera, right? And just check in with yourself. And ask yourself, ask your system, do you recognize the positive intention at the core of this other person's terrible behavior? And if so, Would you be willing to let go for yourself of holding on to the behavior and just acknowledge that they had a positive intention that was handled very poorly? Just like we do, just like everybody does. We all make mistakes. We all handle things poorly with the best set of tools we have at the time, which sometimes aren't very good. Bearing all of that in mind, that as you let this go, you're not saying that behavior is okay. You're not saying that you necessarily let them off the hook. You're simply saying that you choose not to hold on to the pain or the anger or the fear or the depression or the whatever reaction it causes in you. All you're saying is that I choose to create space and release inside of myself so that that universal life force of love can enter inside of me and fill me up instead of whatever contraction I've been holding around this particular issue. Yeah? Drink that in for a moment. It's so much better. It's so much better. So I hope that helps a little bit. Before we go, I just want to remind you that forgiveness is something, it's a gift you give yourself. It's something that you do to lighten your own load. It's something that ultimately you have to understand that whatever pain you're holding, whatever anger, whatever sorrow, whatever heavy negative emotions you're holding, they exist inside of you. They exist inside your body. They exist inside your head, inside your mind. And if they're filling you up, right? If your internal landscape is filled up with these kinds of heavy, hard things that you're carrying, then you are inhibiting and you're blocking your ability to be in a clear, expanded state where things can flow through you and arise in you. And I would say when we hold on to stuff, when we're carrying that kind of stuff, we actually block our own light. We actually block our own divinity. We block our own highest capacity from coming out. It gets all bound up in combating or fighting or arguing with or running from or however we respond to whatever pain we have. And interestingly enough, forgiveness is a win-win. Not only is it for you, and not only does it serve you, and not only does it create this spaciousness and this availability for kind of a higher way of being for you, but it also is healing for the other person, and it's healing for the collective. In my experience, when you forgive, you lighten your own load, but you also lighten other people's loads. Whether it's, that person that knows they've done wrong by you and is holding guilt and shame and is all weird and awkward around you, and then you make it easier for them. Or you have that deep conversation, maybe with a parent or someone you've had, beef with for decades, and you let them off the hook, and you literally, probably spiritually set them free. And also, when you're not carrying all that stuff inside of you, and you're going about your day and you're just interacting with the world, you tend to bring a lightness and an easiness and a breeziness and a positivity that's kind of infectious and really rare and really striking. And in that sense, forgiveness is very strange in that if we don't forgive, it hurts us the most. And it's very damaging, it's very divisive. And if we do forgive, it heals everyone. It heals us, it heals them, it heals the whole system. And so I want to just encourage you to play with this and encourage you to find the courage, pardon the pun there, find the courage to look and see what the positive intention behind people's behavior is and see if you can relate to it. See if you can empathize with it. See if you can understand, that there might be some positive intention there. See what happens if you connect to that positive intention. Like really connect to it. My experience is that when I'm really able to connect to the positive intention, behind someone's behavior, no matter how shitty the behavior, I'm able to let go of it. You know, I'm able to move past it, put it down, let it go, let it be, put it behind me, and move on with my life. And that's really the best we can do, is to let it go, drop it, and move on and move forward, and let there be space that gets filled with love that used to be filled up with pain, right? So I hope this is useful. I hope this serves you in this time. There is a lot of pain going around. I hope you're safe. I hope you're protected. Just in case, you know, I haven't been mentioning this enough. If you're interested, I have made a course called How to Stay Sane While the World Goes Crazy, which I made actually for COVID, but obviously applies now with everything going on socially too. And it's part of my members site, which I have. It's $30 a month. You get unlimited access not only to this course, but to hypnotherapy sessions, NLP sessions, targeted around particular issues like social anxiety, general anxiety, CPTSD, forgiveness. I'll do enough forgiveness too. So there's all kinds of sessions. There's also a bunch of positive sessions on how to rewire your brain to be happier, to be calmer, more peaceful, that kind of a thing. All of that is available and is constantly growing. It's this library I'm building up for you guys in my members course, $30 a month. If you need a resource that helps you get through these tough moments, it's $1 a day right now. And I think you'll get a lot out of it. So anyways, be well, take care. I'll make a new video. I have a great one coming for you soon on understanding what awakening really is that you're going to really enjoy. But I hope you guys are all safe, happy, and healthy. Take care.